you cannot out-strategize your internal architecture. If you have a limiting belief system, if your mindset and your identity is capping you, there's no amount of strategy and game plans we can give you that will out-punt that. Hey, beautiful friend. If you're a longtime listener of the podcast who's been dying to work with me but hasn't pulled the trigger yet, I have an incredible opportunity to work with me for a fraction of the cost. If your estheticians can't explain your signature plans or your new injectors panic every time they have to sell a high-ticket consult, it's not their fault. It's the system, or more specifically, your lack of one. That's exactly why I built Ask Heather AI, the first strategist level tool for aesthetic and wellness CEOs who want to scale with precision and stop flying by the seat of their pants. Inside, you get 3 powerful tools, each designed to solve the exact gaps that keep your growth tied to you. Turn your basic menu into a branded high-ticket signature offer suite your whole team can sell. Train every team member to lead premium consults with confidence, even if they've never sold a thing. Write magnetic messaging that attracts premium patients without sounding like every other clinic online. These are the same frameworks we've used to scale clinics to 7 figures and beyond, and they used to cost 5 figures to access. Now, you can have them in your back pocket. Try Ask Heather AI for 30 days and see what happens when you stop guessing and start scaling with words that work. Head over to heathertrevine.com/trial to learn more. Well, hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I recently went to a mastermind event called Soft Girl Millions that was put on by my coach, Leanne Lopez Mosley. And this episode was inspired by some of the key takeaways that I had at that mastermind event. And I wanted to share some of what I think is the secret sauce. So this was a event, it's primarily coaches. There was about 150 women that actually came from all over the world. I've been working with Leanne now for about 1.5 years. I'm in one of her high-level masterminds. And I typically do not go to a lot of events like these throughout the year because of just my personal schedule with my 3 daughters and their competitive sports schedule, my husband's career and his schedule, and just the stage of life I'm at. I feel like it is a very high cost for me to travel and go to these types of events. Now, what's interesting is that many coaches, many of my peers, spend a lot of time going to events. And that's what I always discover whenever I go to these things. And they're so impactful. If I could beam myself to these events and it didn't take so much travel and what have you, and I just didn't have to miss my daughter's events and practices and tournaments and all the things that are happening in their lives, I would go to them more often because there's always magic and shifts that happen. So this event was amazing. And what's so interesting about the event is that Leanne is mainly a strategist, meaning most of her coaching is not mindset related, if you will. She doesn't do a lot of that type of work with her clients. But what's fascinating is that this event was all based on that. And there was this one idea behind really the entire event. Now, part of the thesis was, how can we grow our businesses while also still remaining with softness? And really, like, how do we not have to hustle harder in order to achieve the millions, if you will? And not even just millions, but whatever success looks like for you. And so it was really left me thinking with so many things. But the premise or like the main thesis, I think, of the event was this idea that you cannot out-strategize your internal architecture. If you have a limiting belief system, if your mindset is and your identity is capping you, there's no amount of strategy and game plans we can give you that will out punt that. And you've heard this so many times. I've heard this so many times. It can never be said to me enough. And when I looked at all the successful women that I had a chance to meet and all of the speakers and all of us sharing our stories together, there were so many different types of coaches. There were so many different niches represented there. And it all comes down to the same thing. We all have upper limit problems. We all have a hard time engineering ourselves outside of the identity that we have right now. And so it reminded me that for you all and for your team members as well too, that the folks that are the most successful, the folks that are able to grow the 8-figure businesses, if you will, they don't have a strategy that is necessarily smarter than yours, because pretty much most strategies are out on the internet and are not, gate kept anymore because of how much information we actually have now, and especially with AI. But those strategies, you will not be able to move outside of what your internal capacity is. And so because of that, I wanted to share with you a framework that I use with my clients, that I use personally, called the belief diamond. Because when I looked at all the women in the room, and especially the women who were multiple 7, past 8 figures, if you will, they had the belief diamond in spades. And some of them don't even realize they have it. And this is if you're looking in your local market or even in our industry, and you look at people and you're like shocked. You're like, they're not as much of an expert as you are in whatever specialty it might be. But their business is bigger than yours. They have more revenue, they have more profits, they have more visibility, they have a bigger audience than you. And the reason why is because they have the belief diamond happening in the background. So let's dive in. I'm going to dive into the belief diamond and what those key components are so that you can start to recognize one of the key shifts that you will have to have in order to start to notice where you are playing smaller, where you are limiting yourself, is having tools to have a lot of self-awareness for where you are creating the results that you currently have or don't have. If you spend a lot of time in stories about why you have the results or the outcomes that you have, or rather the outcomes or results that you don't have, you are disempowering yourself from being able to actually drive, your success beyond a limit. When we say, oh, it's the market, oh, it's because the economy, if you spend a lot of time doing that, that is one of the reasons why you have limited yourself. Because when you do that and you abdicate the results that you're creating to other things, you disempower yourself from being able to create what you want. Now, this does not mean there are not other factors in society at play that may, in fact, make it harder for you for whatever reason, because of your background, because of the market that you're in, because of the economy, because of XYZ, whatever it is. Doesn't mean those things don't exist. They do. But what I would offer to you is that if you spend a lot of time in the weeds with those things, then you will not be empowered to create the life and the business that you want. And what I would offer to you is that it's just not very useful to spend a lot of time telling yourself those stories. Now, I coach team members, and you know this, we have multiple calls every single month where I get on with team members. There's two key things in those calls. I coach them on their confidence and their certainty and their conviction. And also, we role play. I give them scenarios and we work through them. And then of course, I actually teach them our frameworks so that they have the clarity of what we actually want them to do too. But what comes up over and over again? So I will have them come with certain scenarios, certain challenges, certain objections, some real life actual consultations and conversations that they're having with real patients. And we'll kind of unpack what's happening. And the three questions I always ask them when I'm asking them to evaluate the consultation or the conversation, whatever it might be, is what worked, what didn't work, and what would you do differently? And we do this because the key to unlocking change is actually having self-awareness and noticing what's working, what's not working, and then what you are actually going to do differently. What happens for a lot of folks, though, is that when I ask that question, I want you to actually stay within everything that is within your control and not go to the story land of, oh, well, this person had this reasoning why this patient is like too busy, this patient didn't have the money, all that stuff. May in fact be true. But what you want to do, the reason why I bring this up, is the belief diamond keeps you locked in to the things that are entirely within your control. And so when I looked at the women that were sharing their stories of success, what came up time and time again was that they had belief in these core areas in spades. Having belief in these core areas for you and your team members is actually the key to being able to rock getting to the next level, whatever that might be. So the belief diamond is having belief in 4 core areas. And I would argue that when you are hiring team members, having this in the back of your mind will help you filter out the team members that maybe are going to be challenging when it comes to them being able to be true experts and leaders in conversations with patients and clients. And so we have a past episode on the belief diamond as well, too, that you can go back into the archives to listen to as well. But this is the key. This is why you have certain experts in certain competitors that you look at and are ahead of you when it comes to success in the business world, but are not actually ahead of you when it comes to expertise and experience. And there's a disconnect there. So the first belief area is belief in you. Belief that you are the leader of your business, belief that you can create whatever outcomes or results that you want. And as I share with you these, I want you to start evaluating and thinking in your mind where you have the biggest disparity when it comes to true belief in this area. So belief in you. The second is belief in your offers. Belief that your offers create incredibly outstanding outcomes and wow results for the humans that you serve. And this is why I'm so bullish on obviously really becoming strategic with your signature plans, signature packages, and what have you, so that you build your offers with that in mind. The third is belief in your market. Belief that your market is primed for what it is that you do. Belief that there are plenty of really qualified humans in your market. They are dying to find an expert just like you. The fourth area is belief in your clients or patients. Belief that your clients and patients have the money, they have the time, they have the desire, they have the will for what it is that you and your team are most expertly poised to help them get their desired outcomes and the problems that they're looking to solve, okay? When you continually hone belief in these 4 areas, this will outpunt any strategy I give you, okay? Now, I'm a strategist. I freaking love having strategy. I'm huge on frameworks. My strategy that I share with you pretty openly on this podcast works, right? It works. These frameworks are freaking killer. But those frameworks in the hands of a leader who doesn't believe in themselves, doesn't believe in their offers, doesn't believe that their market is primed for what they do, and doesn't believe that there are patients and clients that are dying to have what they offer, it won't matter. The strategy will not outperform the belief system that you innately have. This is what you need to believe and work on as the leader. Because what happens is if you have low belief in these 4 areas, this actually manifests in your entire practice. It manifests to your team. It manifests to the decisions that you make, right? It manifests where you actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's because of our reticular activating system and that front part of our brain that filters out what we see and the opportunities and what we're going to take action on. And it will look for evidence to back up whatever your belief systems are. So I want you to take some time after this episode. I want you to grab a piece of paper, a journal when you get a chance, and write down the belief diamond at the top. Then I want you to write down you, your offers, your market, your clients, your results. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to actually score yourself with 10 being, holy cow, my belief is unhinged, is delusional. I want delulu belief for you. And 0 or 1 is that you really, really lack belief in this area. This will be eye-opening for you and is such an opportunity for you to discover why you have the results that you currently have. Now, also for your team members, I would be remiss if I don't mention this about your team members too, because your best team members who are able to actually take action on whatever it is that you're asking them to do. The ones that have high belief in these 4 areas are the ones who are absolutely rock stars. You probably can already know and are thinking in the back of your mind of who they are. And so when I'm working with your team inside of MSA, this core belief area is what I am thinking about in the background and that I'm challenging them when they are struggling with their confidence or their belief. Because I could give them like, hey, this is the consultation process that I want you to use. These are the packages and the game plans and the annual signature plans that I want you to actually lead somebody through. But if in the background, they don't believe in themselves, they don't believe in the offers, they don't believe in that the market is going to work, and that they don't believe that there are patients and clients who actually desire what it is that you offer, then it is always going to be an uphill battle, and that will manifest in the results that you're able to create. And one last thing on team I want to leave you with too is how can you in your hiring process, in your process of actually managing your team, how can you incorporate the belief diamond in the sense that you actually look for the humans that are more naturally inclined to have belief in these areas? Because if you have somebody who is just, you discover in the interview process that they're always going to be challenged and they have lots and lots of beliefs that are going to limit them in these 4 core areas, you know that those humans are just going to be tough nuts to crack when it comes to coaching and their coachability and the ability to actually train them and to lead them. Now, half of the battle, honestly, truly, is your leadership and your own self-belief. Because if you can continually hone your belief in these 4 core areas, you will have the internal architecture that you need to grow your business to the next level in 2026 and to actually build the support team and the team around you that will make that a self-fulfilling prophecy too. All right, my friend, that is what I have for you this week. I will see you next week.